Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on MTV Sports, live from the News First studios in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid. I'm
Sonali Wanikabadage. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
In your headlines this evening, Irrigation Department warns of floods within the next few hours owing to rising water levels of the Kalani, Kalu, Nilwala and Ging rivers. The Supreme Court decision on the Divinagama bill handed over to the President and the Speaker. Impeachment motion submitted against the Chief Justice.
The Registrar of the Supreme Court, Milinda P. Mudunkotwa, stated that the Supreme Court decision on the legitimacy of the Divinagama bill was informed to the President and the Speaker last evening. A three-member bench comprising of Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike and Justices Gamini Amaratunga and K. Sri Pavan looked into the legitimacy of the bill. 4 petitions were filed in the Supreme Court challenging the legitimacy of the Divinagama bill. The petitions pointed out that the bill creates a powerful minister who will be able to use the funds of the Divinagama department according to his whims. Citing this reason, the petitions have requested court to make it mandatory for the bill to be passed with a 2/3 majority in Parliament or a referendum. Meanwhile, 11 individuals who sought permission to intervene in the 4 petitions asserted through their attorneys at law that the Divinagama bill was in accordance with the Constitution and has been introduced for the public benefit.
Two new deputy ministers were sworn in before President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the President's house today.
Dr. Sarat Amudugama was sworn in as the new Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning. The President's media unit noted that Dr. Amudugama will hold this portfolio in addition to his current portfolio of Minister of International Monetary Cooperation. Meanwhile, the former Deputy Minister of Finance, Geethanjana Gunawardena, will now take over the portfolio of Deputy Minister of Civil Aviation.
The International Commission of Jurists says that it has become nearly impossible for people who have suffered serious violations of human rights to receive justice in Sri Lanka. Sam Zarifi, the Asia Director of the ICJ, which consists of 60 top judges and legal specialists from across the globe, states that the absence of justice removes an important deterrent to would-be perpetrators.
The 150-page report has been titled Authority Without Accountability, The Crisis of Impunity in Sri Lanka. The report states that victims and survivors of major human rights violations do not receive redress and perpetrators are not brought to justice. The report further adds that the Sri Lankan government has sought to evade the domestic and international demands for justice for the serious violations of international law by both sides in the conflict which ended in 2009. ICJ's Asia Director Sam Zarifi said that the situation has gotten particularly bad in the past few months due to attacks on the judiciary turning into acts of physical violence. The report also states that Sri Lanka has violated its duty to protect and promote human rights.
Meanwhile, speaking to the Sunday Share program of the BBC World Service, the Chair of Justice of the UK branch of the International Commission of Jurists, Baroness Helena Kennedy, expressed these views regarding the impeachment motion against Sri Lanka's Chief Justice.
It's very unclear to us as to what grounds the proposed impeachment of the Chief Justice is based, but the potential for any such action to be perceived as politically motivated in light of the Supreme Court finding against the government recently on a matter of constitutional importance does give the appearance that in fact the impeachment might be linked to judicial function, that the government don't like what the judges are doing, therefore they're going to remove the Chief Justice.
Meanwhile, lawyers and the Mahasangha point out that the actions of the opposition leader have directly contributed to the issues that have cropped up in the legal system and the independence of the judiciary. Now, they point out that the views expressed by the opposition leader over the past few days on the judiciary and his stance on the matter have resulted in aggravating the issues in the judiciary. Ranil Wickremesinghe said recently that issuing an enjoining order on a political party was similar to assaulting a judicial official. A debate took place in Parliament when Manjula Tilakaratne was assaulted. During that debate, Ranil Wickremesinghe did not speak as the opposition leader of Parliament or the party leader. Other leaders of opposition parties were prevented from speaking. The people know this. When the MPs in the lower ranks tried to raise their voice against this, saying that the opposition should act as the opposition, Ranil Wickremesinghe put a stop to it. He killed those voices. On the 1st of December, the convention will take place. By that time, a large number of UN peers will seek the assistance of the courts to defeat the emergence of a dictatorship through the extension of the leadership tenure to 6 years. I think myself and our party are the ones facing the most difficulty as a result of injunction orders issued by courts.
Now he is talking about the courts. He says that the courts did not rule in his and his party's favour. Decisions are made according to witnesses. This is an unbelievable opinion. This is like revenge. He should decide whether he is going to be the leader or a parliamentarian. I think he is not suitable for either.
The opposition and the opposition leader are the main cause for the judiciary to be in this situation. Now Ranil Wickremesinghe is speaking against the courts because decisions given in cases against him were not in his favour. What he wants is for courts to decide in his and his party's favour. This is what he has said at group meetings, in parliament and at meetings. Because court gave decisions that did not favour him, he is saying, we will not be there for you. You better sort out your own issues. Is this what a responsible opposition leader should say? It is the duty of the public and the party supporters to oust such a dictatorial leader of the opposition.
A group of government parliamentarians submitted an impeachment motion against Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake to Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa today. Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi said that 117 parliamentarians have placed their signature on the impeachment motion. Journalists raised questions regarding the impeachment motion at the cabinet media briefing this morning.
No, the charges must be presented in Parliament and the Speaker will determine the charges on the basis of whether there is a prima facie case. In the recent past, several issues surfaced between the legislature and the judiciary. The Honourable Speaker made a special statement in Parliament establishing the supremacy of Parliament. Even after such a statement, if the situation remains unchanged, then it is not the law of the jungle that must be resorted to, but the steps provided for in the Constitution in order to protect the supremacy of the people through the most democratic and constitutional means. So the government has commenced this progress.
සාධාරණම සහ විවස්ථානුකූල විවස්ථාවට ගරු කරමින් කළ හැකි ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය ආරක්ෂා කරමින් කළ යුතු ක්‍රියාවලිය. එම ක්‍රියාවලියට ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂය විසින් මේ මොහොත වෙනකොට
At present, a sufficient number of signatures have been received. It is over 75. It could be between 76 and 150. Pavitra Vanyarachi, Lasanta Alagiyawanna, Arundika Fernando, Shanta Bandara and Sudarshani Fernando Pulle were the parliamentarians who submitted the impeachment motion to the Speaker today. They too spoke at a media briefing convened this afternoon.
117 parliamentarians have signed this motion. MPs representing all constituent parties in the ruling alliance have signed this motion. We submitted this motion in accordance with clause 107(2) of the Constitution.
Sandane සියලුම පක්ෂ නියෝජනය වන පරිදි තමයි
With regard to the proposals in this motion under clause 78 of standing orders in Parliament, the charges against the Chief Justice will be informed through a parliamentary select committee that will be appointed at the next session.
මේ යෝජන දෙන්න. මම හිතන්නේ
I think the charges that were in the motion at the time of submission will be presented to her.
මේ ප්‍රමාණය ඒ තුමියට බාර දෙයි.
මේ ප්‍රශ්න වල සියල්ලට සවිස්තරව පිළිතුරු සපයලා මම
I have given comprehensive answers to these questions.
මේ CID එකෙන් අර පොලිසියේ good cop bad cop ප්‍රශ්න කරනවා වගේ මෙතන ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න එපා.
None of these things. No, no. We have already answered.
When a charge sheet is presented to a public official, there is a procedure that must be followed.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් රටේ නීතියක් තියෙනවා නේ. චෝදනා පත්‍රයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන රටේ නීතියක් තියෙනවා.
No, no. Thank you. Okay, okay.
I
have already answered. Now I will bring an impeachment motion against you. If I were to bring out your misbehavior, I won't be able to speak here. We will discuss this in private. Let's go. Every such judge shall hold office during good behavior and shall not be removed except by an order of the President made after an address of Parliament supported by a majority of the total number of members of Parliament, including those not present, has been presented to the President for such removal on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity, provided that no resolution for the presentation of such an address shall be entertained by the Speaker or placed on the order paper of Parliament unless notice of such resolution is signed by not less than 1/3 of the total number of members of Parliament and sets out full particulars of the alleged misbehavior or incapacity. Accordingly, what are the future steps to be taken after 1/3 of MPs sign the motion and submit it to the Speaker? Well, we'll have more on those future steps which will have to be taken in order to file an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice in Parliament. But in the meantime, views were also expressed at various platforms on the impeachment motion that was brought against the Chief Justice.
What we need is not strong opposition. What we need is people power. We must create this. We need to start from the villagers. If the people are strong and resolute, then the independence of the judiciary can be protected. I wish to tell all fair-minded lawyers and others in the legal sphere that the government is attempting to interfere with the judiciary. We must be united and stand up against this. We must do what is necessary to prevent this. You have our support and the people's support. There is no other answer for this. Clause 107 in the Constitution notes that if there are any malpractices, an impeachment motion can be brought forth. I look a little deeper to see if there were any malpractices and discrepancies. The way I see this, it is not the judiciary or the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court that have engaged in these malpractices, but it is this government. We must fight against this death blow to the judiciary of the country. We must fight against this conspiracy to destroy the independence of the judiciary. What is this impeachment motion? It is the MPs who level these allegations. It is the MPs who inquire about this, and it is the MPs themselves that give a verdict. They saw that the judiciary was independent and would not bow down to their whims. That is when this conspiracy was launched. They are leveling this attack on one of the three pillars that uphold society. In what direction are they heading? Where will it end? This is why the people who value democracy must stand up against this.
මේ කෙලවර වෙන්නේ කොතනකින්? එනිසා මේ රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීයාගේ ජනතාව මේට විරුද්ධ විය යුතුයි.
නීතියේ පැවැත්මට මේ රටේ අනාගතයේ අධිකරණයට.
This is an attack on the future of the country and the rule of law. This will create a wrong precedent. This is personal revenge. This is being done as the Supreme Court did not support the efforts of the government to pass the Divinagama bill. We see this as the first step in the process to appoint weak persons to the Supreme Court and take revenge by using them.
ගන්න ක්‍රියාදාමයේ ඉදිරි පියවරක් හැටියට අපට මේක පේනවා.
Speaking at the Cabinet media briefing today, Minister Keheli Rambukwala stated that the government does not protect democracy by resorting to the law of the jungle.
If
the law of the jungle was used on any single person, then this allegation is true. The rule of the jungle is if the stones aimed at the coconut tree fell on judges' houses and if people booed while being dragged on the road. There is no rule of the jungle. The law of the country is the constitution. In political science, the most powerful weapon is respecting the sovereignty of the people through implementation of the constitution.